The lottery numbers that will be drawn tomorrow night already exist in the imagination of someone. They exist as a living reality in the consciousness of the one who will claim that prize. The question is not whether those numbers exist, but in whose consciousness they exist. Will they exist in yours? You must understand that there is no such thing as the future in the sense that most people conceive it. There is only the eternal now, and in this eternal now, all possibilities exist simultaneously. The lottery drawing that you think will happen tomorrow night has already happened countless times in the infinite exhaust of being. In some states you win, in others you do not. The question is not which state will come to pass, but which state you will choose to occupy with your consciousness. This is the secret that the mystics have guarded for centuries, the truth that transforms beggars into kings and makes the impossible inevitable. Your consciousness is not a passive observer of events happening to you from outside. Your consciousness is the creator of everything you experience. Every lottery drawing, every number selected, every prize awarded is but the objectification of someone's subjective state. The external world is frozen music, and consciousness is the composer. Now you may ask, if this is true, why does not everyone win the lottery? Why do millions play and only one wins? The answer lies in the nature of assumption itself. Most people, when they purchase a lottery ticket, do so from a state of lack, from a consciousness of need, from an assumption that they probably will not win. They hope to win, they wish to win, they pray to win, but in their heart of hearts, they assume they will not win. And the universe, being nothing more than the outcropping of consciousness, must conform to their assumption. Hope is not assumption. Wishing is not assumption. Praying as most people pray is not assumption. These are all activities of a consciousness that knows itself to be separate from its desire, that sees the desired thing as outside itself, as something it must somehow obtain from a reluctant universe. But assumption is the consciousness that knows itself to be already in possession of its desire, that feels the naturalness of already being what it wants to be. Let me tell you what assumption really means. When you assume you have won the lottery, you do not merely think about winning or visualize winning or affirm that you will win. You feel the natural, effortless sense of already being a lottery winner. You feel what it would feel like if it were true right now that you had already won. You feel the relief, the joy, and the sense of security and freedom that would naturally accompany such a state. But more than feeling these emotions, you feel the naturalness of being someone to whom such good fortune naturally belongs. This is where most people fail in their attempts to apply these principles. They try to manufacture feelings. They try to force emotions. They try to convince themselves that they have won, when every fiber of their being knows they have not. This is not assumption. This is self-deception, and the universe cannot be deceived. The universe responds only to what you actually believe about yourself, not to what you pretend to believe. True assumption is not something you do. It is something you are. When you truly assume that you are a lottery winner, you do not have to remind yourself that you are. You do not have to struggle to maintain the feeling. You do not have to fight against doubts and fears. You simply are someone who has won the lottery. And this fact expresses itself naturally in your thoughts, your feelings, your expectations, and your actions. But how does one come to such an assumption? How does one transform a consciousness of lack into a consciousness of abundance? How does one move from the state of hoping to win to the state of knowing one has already won? This transformation cannot be accomplished through effort or struggle. It cannot be forced or manufactured. It can only be accomplished through a profound shift in identity, through a complete revision of who you believe yourself to be. You must understand that the person you believe yourself to be right now is not your true self. It is merely a role you have been playing, a character you have been portraying in the great drama of life. This character has a history of limitations, a record of failures, a catalog of reasons why good things do not happen to it. But this character is not you. It is simply a mask you have been wearing, a costume you have been dressed in by the beliefs and assumptions you have accepted about yourself. Your true self is far grander than anything you have imagined. Your true self is the operant power of the universe itself, individualized and focused through your particular point of consciousness. Your true self lacks nothing, needs nothing, fears nothing. Your true self is already everything it could ever desire to be. When you recognize this truth and begin to live from this recognition, the outer world must rearrange itself to reflect your inner transformation. This is not metaphysical speculation. This is practical instruction for those who would transform their lives. To win the lottery, you must become, in consciousness, someone who has already won. You must revise your entire self-concept until winning the lottery feels as natural to you as breathing feels to your body. You must live in the assumption that you are blessed, that you are favored, that good fortune flows to you as naturally as water flows downhill. But let me be very clear about what this means. It does not mean that you should quit your job tomorrow or spend money you do not have in anticipation of your winnings. Such actions would be the actions of someone who hopes to win, not someone who knows they have already won. The person who has truly won the lottery in consciousness continues to live their life normally, naturally, without strain or effort, but with an inner knowing that their external circumstances are about to catch up with their internal transformation. The key to this entire process is revision. Every night before you sleep, you must revise the day that has passed. You must rewrite the story of your life so that you are no longer someone who plays the lottery hoping to win, but someone who has already won. You must replay scenes from your day, but now with yourself as a person of means, a person of abundance, a person to whom the universe delights to give its treasures. When you revise your past in this way, you are not engaging in fantasy or wishful thinking. You are actually changing the foundation upon which your future is built. The past exists only in memory, and memory can be changed. When you change your memory of what you have been, you change your expectation of what you will be. And expectation, when it is truly felt and not merely hoped for, is the cause of all phenomena. This revision must be done with feeling, with the natural emotional tone that would accompany such experiences if they were physically true. If you have won $10 million, how would you feel as you go about your daily activities? Not excited or hysterical, but with a deep, quiet confidence, a sense of security, a freedom from the anxieties that plague those who worry about money. You would feel expanded, liberated, capable of generosity and kindness that you perhaps could not afford when you were financially stressed. These feelings must become your natural state. You must wear them as comfortably as you wear your own skin. You must feel so natural in the role of a wealthy person that poverty seems foreign to you, that lack seems impossible, that limitation seems like a nightmare from which you have awakened. But remember, this is not about the money itself. Money is merely crystallized consciousness, energy that has taken material form. When you change your consciousness, the money is inevitable. When you transform your assumptions about yourself, abundance must manifest because consciousness and its expression are one and the same thing. You cannot be abundant in consciousness and poor in experience any more than you can be wet in consciousness and dry in experience. The lottery is simply one of infinite ways through which the universe can deliver to you what you have claimed in consciousness. Do not limit the channels through which your good can come to you. Assume that you are wealthy, and wealth will find you. It may come through the lottery, or through an unexpected opportunity, or through the generosity of others, or through means you cannot now imagine. Trust the universe to select the method. Your job is simply to maintain the assumption. Now, some of you may be thinking that this sounds too simple, that surely there must be more to it than this. But simplicity is the hallmark of truth. The most profound principles are always the simplest ones. What makes this process seem difficult is not its complexity, but the thoroughness with which we have been conditioned to believe in limitation, to accept scarcity as natural, to expect disappointment as inevitable. You have been hypnotized from birth into believing that you are small, powerless, subject to forces beyond your control. Every day, through 1,000 subtle suggestions, this hypnosis is reinforced. The newspapers tell you how difficult it is to make money. The television shows you stories of struggle and failure. Your friends and family, with the best of intentions, remind you to be realistic, to not get your hopes up, to accept your limitations. But all of this is nothing more than mass hypnosis, a collective agreement to believe in powerlessness. And like all hypnosis, it can be broken by the simple recognition that it is hypnosis. You are not required to participate in the collective dream of limitation. You can withdraw your consent from the mass agreement that life is hard and good things are scarce. To win the lottery, you must break free from this collective hypnosis. You must dare to believe something different about yourself and your world. You must have the courage to assume that you are an exception to the rules that seem to govern everyone else. You must be willing to be thought a dreamer, a fool, an impractical visionary by those who are asleep in the dream of limitation. This courage is not easy to maintain. Every day the world will present you with evidence that contradicts your assumption. You will see your bank account remain the same. You will hear statistics about how unlikely it is to win. You will encounter people who will try to convince you that you are deluding yourself. In these moments, you must remember that the external world is always the last to change. It is like a shadow that follows behind the substance. When you move, the shadow does not move immediately. There is always a delay. But if you persist in your new direction, the shadow must eventually follow. This is why persistence is so crucial. Most people give up just before their assumption would have crystallized into form. They maintain their new state of consciousness for a few days or weeks. And when they do not see immediate results, they conclude that the principle does not work. But consciousness is like a seed planted in the ground. You do not see the growth immediately. But if you water it consistently and protect it from the harsh winds of doubt, it will eventually break through the surface and manifest as your desired experience. The time it takes for your assumption to manifest depends entirely on how natural it feels to you. If you can assume that you have won the lottery with the same naturalness with which you assume that the sun will rise tomorrow, your assumption will manifest quickly. But if your assumption feels forced or unnatural, if you have to struggle to maintain it, if it conflicts with deeper beliefs about yourself, then the manifestation may take longer. This is why it is so important to work on your self-concept at the deepest level. You must not merely assume that you will win the lottery. You must assume that you are the kind of person to whom good things naturally happen. You must assume that you are blessed, that you are favored by life, that the universe conspires in your favor. When these deeper assumptions are in place, winning the lottery becomes just one natural expression of your fundamental nature. Let me share with you a technique that will help you to build this natural feeling of being blessed and favored. Every morning when you wake up, before you get out of bed, spend a few minutes feeling grateful for all the good things that are already in your life. But do not stop there. Feel grateful for the good things that are on their way to you, including your lottery winnings. Feel grateful as if these things have already arrived, as if you are remembering them rather than anticipating them. Gratitude is one of the most powerful ways to shift your consciousness because it implies possession. You cannot be truly grateful for something you do not have. When you feel genuine gratitude for your lottery winnings, you are automatically assuming that you have received them. And this assumption, felt as gratitude, has tremendous power to attract its material equivalent. But this gratitude must be felt, not merely thought. It must be a warm, expanding feeling in your chest, a sense of abundance and joy that fills your entire being. It must be so real to you that if someone interrupted your meditation and asked you why you were so happy, you would naturally want to tell them about your good fortune. As you practice this technique day after day, you will find that the feeling of being blessed becomes more and more natural to you. You will begin to walk through life with an expectant attitude, a quiet confidence that good things are always on their way to you. People will begin to comment on how different you seem, how much more positive and optimistic you have become. And these changes in your inner world will begin to attract corresponding changes in your outer world. You must also pay attention to the stories you tell about yourself. Every day in conversations with others and in your own inner dialogue, you are constantly reinforcing your self-concept through the stories you repeat. If you consistently tell stories about your financial struggles, your bad luck, your inability to get ahead, you are programming your subconscious mind to maintain these conditions. Instead, you must begin to tell new stories about yourself. You must speak of yourself as someone who is blessed, someone to whom good things happen, someone who is about to experience a wonderful transformation. Even if these stories do not yet match your external circumstances, they will begin to change your inner atmosphere. And eventually your outer world must conform to your inner world. Remember that your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. Every time you tell a story about your good fortune, every time you imagine yourself as wealthy and blessed, every time you feel the emotions that will accompany such a state, you are literally programming your subconscious mind to accept this as reality. And whatever your subconscious mind accepts as reality, it will work tirelessly to manifest in your external experience. This is why the mystics have always emphasized the importance of controlling your thoughts and feelings. Not because thoughts and feelings are merely mental phenomena with no practical consequences, but because thoughts and feelings are the very forces that shape and mold the physical world. What you think and feel consistently becomes what you experience inevitably. Now let me address a question that I know is arising in many of your minds. You may be wondering whether it's morally right to use these principles to win money when others are struggling. You may feel guilty about the idea of having so much when others have so little. But this guilt is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of the nature of abundance. Abundance is not a limited resource that must be hoarded or rationed. Abundance is the natural state of the universe itself. There is more than enough for everyone. When you claim your share of abundance, you do not take anything away from anyone else. In fact, you become a demonstration of what is possible for others. You become living proof that the universe is friendly, that good things are available, that dreams can come true. Moreover, when you become wealthy through the application of these principles, you become capable of much greater service to others. You can be generous in ways that were impossible when you were struggling financially. You can support causes you believe in, help family members and friends, contribute to the welfare of your community. Poverty helps no one. It is not noble or spiritual to remain poor when you have the power to be wealthy. The idea that there is virtue in poverty is one of the most destructive beliefs that has ever been implanted in human consciousness. This belief has kept countless good people struggling unnecessarily, denying themselves and their families the abundance that is their birthright. God or the universe, or whatever name you prefer to give to the creative power of existence, does not want you to struggle. The creative power wants to express itself through you as abundance, as joy, as fulfillment, as the complete realization of all your dreams and desires. You are not here to suffer. You are not here to struggle. You are not here to accept limitation as inevitable. You are here to demonstrate the unlimited creative power of consciousness. You are here to prove that when consciousness is aligned with desire, all things are possible. You are here to be a living example of the truth that imagination creates reality. But to fulfill this purpose, you must be willing to let go of all the beliefs and assumptions that contradict your desire. You must be willing to revise your entire self-concept. You must be willing to become someone new, someone who naturally attracts abundance, someone for whom winning the lottery is not a miracle, but a naturally expired and fundamental nature. This transformation cannot be accomplished through willpower alone. It cannot be forced or demanded. It can only be accomplished through a gentle, persistent process of assumption and revision. Every day you must assume a little more strongly that you are blessed. Every night you must revise your past a little more thoroughly. Every moment you must feel a little more natural in the role of someone who has already received their heart's desire. As you persist in this process, you will begin to notice subtle changes in your experience. Opportunities will begin to appear where none existed before. People will begin to treat you differently. Circumstances will begin to align themselves in your favor. These are not coincidences. These are the early signs that your consciousness is beginning to transform your world. Do not dismiss these early signs as insignificant. Acknowledge them, appreciate them, use them as evidence that the process is working. Every small improvement in your circumstances is proof that your assumption has power, that your revision is effective, that your new self-concept is beginning to crystallize into form. And do not be discouraged if the process seems slow at first. Remember that you are not merely trying to win money. You are attempting to transform your entire relationship with abundance, your fundamental understanding of your own power, your deepest beliefs about what is possible for you. This is perhaps the most profound transformation a human being can undergo, and it naturally takes time. But time is on your side if you persist. Every day that you maintain your assumption, every night that you revise your past, every moment that you feel natural in your new role, you are building momentum. And momentum, once it reaches a certain point, becomes irresistible. What seems impossible at first becomes inevitable through persistent application of these principles. The lottery drawing that will make you wealthy may happen next week or next month or next year. But it will happen because you have claimed it in consciousness. And consciousness is the only cause of all phenomena. Your assumption is the seed. And like all seeds, it contains within itself the complete pattern of what it is destined to become. Trust the process. Trust your assumption. Trust the power of consciousness to transform itself into experience. And above all, trust yourself. You have within you right now everything you need to become wealthy beyond your wildest dreams. You do not need to develop new abilities or acquire new knowledge. You do not need to wait for external conditions to change or for permission from others to succeed. You need only to recognize what you already are, the operant power of the universe itself, focused through your particular point of consciousness, capable of transforming any limitation into abundance, any struggle into ease, any dream into reality. When you truly know this about yourself, when you feel it in your bones and believe it in your heart, winning the lottery becomes not a distant hope, but an inevitable conclusion. The numbers that will make you wealthy already exist in the infinite field of possibility. Your consciousness is the selector that will determine which numbers manifest in your experience. Choose wisely. Choose from abundance. Choose from the assumption that you are already blessed, already wealthy, already living the life of your dreams. And then wait with the quiet confidence of someone who knows that what they have claimed unconsciousness must manifest in experience for the universe to deliver to you what you have already accepted as true. The lottery is not a game of chance. It is a demonstration of the creative power of consciousness. And you, my friends, are about to become living proof that consciousness is indeed the only reality.